Welcome to the Getting Real podcast, where real stories of leadership and career growth come to life through authentic conversations. This season, we're going to be focusing on coaching conversations. I'm your host, Afsheen and in each episode, we dive in to the heart of personal and professional development. This podcast is a safe space for individuals seeking guidance and transformation. To honor their privacy, all conversations are recorded anonymously. Our guests share their challenges and breakthroughs, providing valuable insights that can help you on your own journey. Today's episode features a coaching conversation with a courageous individual who has agreed to let us share their story. Listen in as we explore their unique experience and uncover strategies that might inspire your own path to success. Thank you for joining us. Let's get started. Wonderful. So before we sort of officially start, and I know the recording is on, but before we officially start anyway, tell me a little bit about sort of why what made you sort of choose to come to coaching in the first place. Just give me some initial context, and then we'll go down the official context.
Sure. So when you're asking me why I decided to go down coaching, you mean do this session?
Choose some time to catch up with me, basically.
Sorry, I missed that. Can you say that again?
Choose some time to catch up with me, basically.
Why did I decide to catch up with you? Because I've been following you.
Oh.
And I've been actually listening to a couple of conversations that you had with others on your LinkedIn.
Okay.
And I feel like a lot of your ideas resonate with me very well. Especially, I remember a conversation that you had about representation of brown women or women of color or women at all in the coaching industry. And that is something that I also personally feel very strongly about, because I believe that most of the coaches are women, but most of the people on the big stages and on the big platforms are men.
Yes.
And I have always found that very
strange.
I don't understand why. Is it because women choose not to be there? That could be a reason, because probably women don't see reason in being those kind of big, massive,
Personalities, right?
Personalities, yes, that's the word.
Yeah.
Or is it because there is a lack of opportunity for them to be there? So, yeah.
Okay.
So when I heard you talking about it, I was like, this has been on my mind for a long time. So it'll be nice to talk to Afsheen and see.
Yes, and I think I've started doing a lot more of talking about that now as well. So I love that we are sort of soul sisters in that way. Okay, that's lovely. Tell me a little bit of context about you as well. I mean, what do you do, and what brought you to coaching? And I'd love to know that.
Yeah, so what do I do is also coaching, technically, and that is probably what I'm going to be talking to you about today. So when I started off, Afsheen, I started off more about, I guess I didn't know much about the structure of coaching, or, the fact that, one needs to get into this profession with all the accreditations and really learn the right way. So I think I started off just fumbling around. But I guess that fumbling around also kind of started making sense. So I started by doing, or rather creating, online courses.
Okay.
To help people navigate their life, because I do have a background in psychology, and I've always been interested in, learning and learning how to become better, reading a lot, learning from others. So that's how I started. But along the way, I also realized that it is important to actually go through the process of accreditation and, the ICF method, and, really learn from peers. So that's what I've done over the last 2 years. But having said that, I have been fortunate enough to have had clients, and I've had, I've created courses through which, I've been able to help a lot of people. So there's been a lot of, in the beginning, like I said, I was unsure and I was fumbling around, but slowly I found that, okay, what I'm doing is helping. It is worthwhile. And I think the fumbling has kind of settled down a little bit, but now it's time to take the next step.
Yeah. Oh, so I love that. And I think I've been doing it for a little bit longer than you have, but I can honestly say that I'm still fumbling around. that maybe, growth and development is still very much part of the journey of coaching as well. So I think that's probably the biggest gift that this journey has given me, is that I learn as much as everybody else learns through me, as a vessel to support their learning every day. So there's never a moment. Anyways, that's a whole other story. But I am so happy that we are having this conversation today, and I so appreciate your trust. Is there anything you would like for us to sort of agree on or align on before we officially start our coaching conversation?
Nothing comes to mind, honestly.
Okay, fine. And of course, you can ask throughout the coaching conversation as well, because this is meant to be a very organic process. So we'll see what comes up for us.
Sure.
So, all right. So my first question for you, as is often the case, is what is on your mind today that you'd like to discuss in this conversation?
Right. So I did think about what I would be talking to you about today. So earlier this year, I had a conversation with a business coach, and it was also like one of these catch-up conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And she was also asking me, what are your plans for the next couple of years? Where do you see yourself? As usually is the case. And as I was talking to her, she asked me a very pertinent question. She said, is your coaching a business or is your coaching a practice? So when you look at your coaching, whatever it is that you're doing, your setup, is it a practice or is it a business? And that question I've been sitting with for a while, because I realized technically that it is a practice, but I would want to make it a business. Because at the end of the day, all the good things about coaching aside, one also needs to think of a way to grow and not be limited to just being this one person who provides a service and gets paid for it, which is essentially what a practice is. So I've been thinking about it, and the reason I thought it will be a good topic for this conversation is because I also want to be honest to myself. Is it something that I want to do because that's what is expected of me, or which I think would make it more creditable to say, oh, I run a business, or is it something that I really, really want? So that's where I'm at.
So it sounds like the question you want to answer is this something I want to do? Or is this something I'm doing because it's expected of me?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. And if we had a meaningful conversation today that was helpful for you to take your next steps, what will you have? How will you know that was a meaningful conversation? What would the outcome of this conversation for you?
A meaningful conversation would lead to me knowing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the knowing that I really want to hone in on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say something like, oh, I will then go and do something.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now I'm still at the phase where I want to know it. Because there are days when I'm still wavering between, there are days when I get up and say, no, I'm going to do these XYZ things and make it into this big business, and I'm going to hire other people who can work under me, and there'll be this entire strategy and all of that. Mm-hmm. And the next day I'm like, that's not actually vibing well with where I am today. So knowing would be good. Mm-hmm. And at some level, I'm also questioning this kind of up and down. I'm like, is it just me sabotaging myself from thinking bigger than my comfort zone?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it actually something that I do not want?
So, if this conversation goes well today, the ideal outcome is that you would know whether you want business or a practice.
Ideally, yes.
Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good. And that makes you laugh. And I'm curious, what's there? What's behind that?
Yeah, I'm laughing because I've been thinking about it for such a long time, and I'm just wondering if I've not put too big an ask out of this conversation. However, I'm sure that even if I'm like closer to that, or there is something that I can process which helps me go there, that'll be great.
So, what you're saying is you'd like to be closer to making that decision for yourself between whether you're going to run a business or whether you're going to run practice.
Yeah.
So, what feels super important about getting closer to that?
I think as I think about it and I kind of visualize it, either ways, a lot of certainty just takes away a lot of, I wouldn't say stress, but so there are two words which are coming to my mind. One is certainty and one is clarity.
Mm-hmm.
And that would move away from confusion.
So along the spectrum, if one end is certainty and clarity, and the other end is, I heard the word confusion, and I also heard the word stress.
Yeah.
So as I'm observing you, because I'm watching you as well as listening to your words, I can see that as soon as I ask you that question, you look upwards and you're going into your head for the answer. So I'd like to ask you to look down and put your hand on your heart. And I'd like you to, from that place, say what feels important, clarity, and certainty.
I think the word that I'm getting is easy.
Ease.
Ease, yeah.
How does ease feel in your body? Where does ease live within you?
I think ease is both in my heart and my stomach. I can actually feel that. It just allows me to breathe.
Breathe. I notice you become very thoughtful.
Yeah.
So, how long have you been pursuing, hoping for more ease?
How long have I been pursuing, hoping for more ease? Is that what you asked?
Yeah.
For a long, long time. I think the pursuit of ease it's a good question, because I never realized that's what it's been. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a feeling of scramble, a feeling of making sense, a feeling of throwing lots of things on the wall and hoping something would stick.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's what it is. There has been a pursuit of ease for a very long time.
Mm-hmm. So what will ease? If ease arrives, and say if ease walks through the door today, what changes for you? What becomes different?
I think if ease arrives, I can be wholly and completely myself. I think there is a sense of things have to be done a certain way. This is the right thing to do. This is how other people tell you that, you should be doing things. All of that, even though logically, consciously, I'm aware of, one should not be, influenced by other people's voices or structures that society says that you need to follow. All of that is logical, conscious awareness, but it does affect me. And I feel that if there is ease and if there is, and I know, then I'll be completely wholly who I am. And I would not bother about the noise. And that's very ideal. That would be like ideal. So even if as I'm saying it to you, Afsheen, I feel like that's just too ideal. I don't think I can have so much ease that I just, throw away all the things, all the systems and expectations and just be who I am. Is it even possible? So there's this voice of doubt and questioning which is already there in my head, like, this is all nice in a conversation, but really, is it possible?
So, is it possible?
I don't know. I don't know.
And yet I feel as though there's something inside you that knows, that has some wisdom. And so what does your inner wisdom know?
I feel the sense of sadness when I'm talking to you about this. I don't know where that's coming from. I thought I'll just share it with you. It's like, I don't know where that came from. But what do I know? What does my inner wisdom know? One of the things that's coming up for me is that 20 years down the line, when I look back, I'm sure I will tell myself that I just was making things too complicated for myself. Yeah, there was no need. Yeah, that's coming up for me.
Just the sadness.
I think there's a lot of thinking in my head.
Yes.
There's a lot of thinking. It's like, there is this thing that, okay, right, I know, but will I get back to the trap of... Sorry, you said something?
I'm just repeating the word you said. You said trap.
Yeah. The trap of old beliefs and habits, if they just... I think that there is this sense of... And that's the sense that has been coming through this conversation, which is like, okay, you're saying all of these things, but after this, are you going to actually do it? That voice of disbelief in my head is very strong.
The voice of disbelief. Is this voice disbelieving you? What is this voice disbelieving?
So, I think the bigger disbelief, or I would call it a naysayer, is a very strong voice which is like, you'll never quite figure it out. And that's very harsh. Even if as I say it out loud, it feels very harsh. But that's the thing, that you'll never figure it out. You'll always be on the journey of trying to figure it out. And it's almost like, shaking its head, and it's like one of those old aunties who says, no, tumse nahi ho payega types.
I love that there's a manifestation of this naysaying voice that's shaking her head. It's female, it's an old auntie, she's shaking her head at you, she's telling you, you're never going to quite figure it out, and she knows everything. And I'm really curious, the Nidhi that sits in front of me, what is your response to this voice when you have one of these old naysayer aunties sitting in front of you? What is your response?
This would probably be like more of so I do tend to be I don't know what the word for it. It's like I do seek approval from elders. I'm one of those girls who grew up being told that you listen to elders, and I've always had this. If they're older than you, then I would always be a little bit more subdued in front of them. So to date, because I come from a really large family, and my mom is much older than me, and so are my sister and brother. I might be very outspoken, and I might have my beliefs very strongly otherwise, but in front of them, I do tend to be very subdued. So which is why when you ask me, because this voice in my head feels like it is an old auntie, like you said, I'm not really speaking up because I've not been the kind of person who's been able to do that in real life.
And yet it seems as though there is a little rebel inside of you.
Oh, big time.
Who's recognizing this old auntie and saying, this old auntie, who holds the voices, who is the channel for all the voices that sit behind her.
Yeah.
All the grown-ups that you have met along the way. And yet here is Nidhi, she's a grown-up herself. So what is from this emerging, evolving space that I can see a little bit of a glimmer of what is different, what is becoming different.
Yeah, no, you're pretty accurate in saying that I've been a rebel also, but it's been more on my actions than in my voice and what I say. And it's a good articulation of what observation was pretty accurate. So yeah, the glimmer is that I've been able to do a lot of things which aunties might disapprove of. Yeah, but I don't need to be rude to them, but I can ignore them. Yeah, that's true.
Don't need to be rude to them, but I can ignore them. So it sounds like you've done it just in a different version somehow. You've, as you call it, rebelled, but just in a different way, in a different approach. And so I'm curious as to what becomes available to you in that way that might be useful here in this story that you are right now writing.
I'm at a loss of thinking of something, but what I'm getting is that And what I'm really getting is that I don't really need to listen to the voice in my head.
Okay.
I guess I've been giving it too much importance, much more than is warranted. I'm getting too much involved in the drama of these voices in my head, and I think that as I'm thinking about where I started this conversation with you, that also started with somebody questioning me, and that actually made me question if what I was doing was right. So I feel like essentially I know what I'm doing, and I know I know what I don't like. so yeah, to figure out what I like and what I want to do should be easy.
It sounds very empowering. I know what I don't like. I know.
Yeah. Did you ask me something? Sorry, I missed the last bit.
I was just reflecting back to you these very empowered words that you shared. I know what I don't like.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me what's happening in you as you are reflecting on those words.
As I'm reflecting on those words, what's happening is that the word that is popping up to me is this underlying desire to conform, which there is a desire. When I say a desire to conform, it's not like a burning desire. It's just that, I feel that conformity will keep me at peace. But the truth is that there are a lot of things that I conform to which I don't like. And that's getting very clear to me. And the fear there, I guess, the underlying fear there is if I don't conform, then people will not like me, which is always something there. Yeah.
When we started, you said, I want ease. Yeah. And right now, let me reflect back to you what you just said. You said, I have this underlying desire to conform because it gives me peace, but it doesn't give me peace anymore.
Yeah.
So you want ease, and at the same time, you share that the desire to conform is actually taking away from that ease. I'm equating the words now, so correct me if I'm wrong. What's that? What's there in that in that knowing that what does that knowing create inside of you?
Yeah, that's a great equation. When I think about conformity, it almost feels like this. I wouldn't call it a burden, but it's almost like a jacket that I'm wearing, which is weighing me down. And if I take it out, I do feel like my shoulders open up, and I feel like, just to give it a very, I feel like that as I'm talking to you about it, like, So ease does. So yeah, you're right. It's like I've made ease difficult for me because of that need or desire to conform. But I don't even know why I need that conformity. Because
I'm noticing a lot of whys in the way you reflect.
Yeah.
And why is quite a dangerous word.
Yeah.
As a coach, you obviously are aware of that. Why is the place where we are talking to our adults, people who are judging us. There's a lot of why, and I find that I'm listening to you and I'm hearing why. So I'm going to ask you, is there another way that you can pose those questions to yourself? And can you start with just one or two that we can share together?
So, what makes it so important for me to look for approval or conform? That is the question, I think.
It's a beautiful question. It opens up so many possibilities. So I'm going to ask it to you, steal it from you and ask it to you. What is it that makes conforming so important to you? And I'm going to repeat that, Nidhi, and I'm going to say it correctly now. I'm going to say it correctly because this is actually what you said. You said, what about approval is so important? So what about approval is so important to you?
I think approval equals to belonging to me.
Say more.
Yeah. Sorry?
Say more about approval equals to belonging for me.
Belonging to belonging also means acknowledgement. Belonging means that there is a group of people or people who I value or look up to who look at me and acknowledge my presence. And I'm part of that group.
That's a very deep meaning for someone to hold. If I am approved of, I belong. And if I belong, I am acknowledged. And people who I look up to acknowledge me, my presence, my mere presence. And I can be part of that group. As you hear me say that back to you.
Yeah, that's a bit sad, isn't it?
Is it? What about it is sad to you?
I think the seeking approval bit is sad. I think I didn't realize it till today that that was so strong. I mean, in my head, I always thought I was, like I mentioned to you, a little bit of a rebel. But it's very interesting for me, actually, Afsheen, to have used the word approval. I don't think I realized that was so strong. And as I was using it to define belonging, I was like, that is, because I think essentially when one thinks of belonging, one thinks of belonging just because you are who you are. So that's what makes it sad, that I've kind of used that I need to prove something in order to belong.
The word I hear is acceptance. Belonging just because you are who you are.
Yeah.
approval, acceptance, approval, acceptance. It's very profound. It's really profound. So as we, I suppose, circle back to where this conversation began, you said, I want to be closer to knowing my business or practice, which one it is. What do you know now that helps you get closer to that?
There is clarity for sure. It's the clarity that there was so much underlying that, especially about this approval, acceptance thing, in the sense of belonging that I was seeking. I feel like when I was doing things, when I mentioned to you earlier, haphazardly, trying to figure it out for myself, that time I was not really seeking all of this approval, belonging, acceptance. I think I need to go back there. Not the haphazard bit, but the sense of why I was doing what I'm doing. And I'm sure that belonging, the way you put it, as acceptance for who I am, I did get. It was there.
Mm-hmm.
It's only when I started putting these conditions to myself that it's become quite a, I made it complicated basically. So in essence, I need to go back there. I need to go back to who I was 4 years ago and why I started doing a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And just take away all of these ifs, buts, and whys and other people's thoughts, and or like you said, too many whys. Just the why, not the whys about questioning myself, but what was it? I think that'll just make it easy. Yeah.
Would make it easy. I love it. Because that's where we all began. With, I want ease.
Yeah.
So going back to where you began 4 years ago, and where you were pursuing something that was not anchored with all of the whys and all of the approvals and all of that. Going back to that, I'd love to ask you, what is one thing that you can do in the next week or so in order for you to revisit that feeling, that experience, that moment, that ease existed?
I think I remember being like, I used to take action very quickly at the beginning. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I was so excited about taking action, like putting out things. If I'm offering a new course or even taking on new coaching clients,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I used to act before I mean, I know it doesn't sound too great, but without thinking too much, I would just act. I would announce. I would just say it out loud, and then figure out how to deliver, how to do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there was this entire energy with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what I'm going to do in the next 1 week. I think I need to take some action. I need to announce the course that I've been sitting on for the last I don't know how many weeks, and just announce it, and then I think that'll be great to go back to literally that's what I did 4 years ago. So I think I need to do that.
I love that. I see you laughing about that. I see your hands are moving more. There's so much energy. I get that sense of ease. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be looking out for that course that you promised that you would launch, that you've been sitting on for a few weeks. And I'm going to hold you to it.
Sure, 100%. That'll be good. That'll be great.
That is brilliant. Wonderful. Well done, you. Any thoughts from you? I mean, the conversation is quite complete now. Any thoughts from you in terms of final reflections on what was your one big takeaway from this conversation?
I think the big takeaway is that I'm glad I brought it to you for this conversation. Because I was dwelling on it for a long time. I think sometimes it's important not to dwell, but to talk about it and hash it out. So that's the big takeaway.
Yeah. Yes. Your thoughts into the universe. And when you do that, magic happens. I love that. I'm so excited to see you putting your work out into the universe and allowing it to live and breathe, because then it has the chance to interact. It has the chance for something to happen. And I'm so excited to see what that looks like for you. I absolutely cannot wait.
Thank you so much, Afsheen.
You are
Thank you for the excitement. I like the excitement in your voice.
I get excited very easily. I can't help myself. I'm in the pursuit of joy right now. And so everything, every moment, every nugget, whatever it is, I'm like, I want it. I'm in the pursuit of joy. I'm being joyful for you, with you, and I can't wait. I really, really can't. And I think, if I were to my wish for you would be that you spend some time taking making a thoughtful reflection over this topic of belonging and how it sits on, based on our conversation for you, it sits on this continuum of approval and acceptance. And just have a little bit more of a think of that, allow that to be present in your life. Whatever's meant to emerge in terms of wisdom from that, it will come to you. But I would love to ask you to hold that for a little while with you so that that wisdom emerges, because I feel like that's a really, really important, and really my heart just felt that so deeply for you. I was like, when you were so authentic and you said, for me, approval is belonging, but it's also, and I say this to you again, it's people who I look up to acknowledging my presence. And I thought, oh, my heart, I want that. I want you to be seen and acknowledged for being accepted, through acceptance. That's my wish for you. So I hope that you will sit with that continuum that means, that defines belonging for you. And I hope you will find your wisdom, some additional new wisdom there.
That is a big one. Yeah. Thank you so much, Afsheen. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Amazing. I love speaking to you. I'm going to ask you to give me a couple of weeks. I'm going to edit these. I'm going to anonymize them. And then I will circle back with you. I will get your permission, so you will have a chance to listen to it as well. And then I'll get your permission, and then we will set up a date for when we're going to use these for the podcast.
Sure. No worries.
Yeah? Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for being part of this experience.
Thank you. I had a lot of value from it. So thank you so much.
I did too. Thanks so much. Thank you for your trust. Take care.
You too. Take care.
Thank you for tuning in to the Getting Real podcast. We hope you found today's coaching conversation as insightful and as inspiring as we did. Remember, every leader's journey is unique, and each step forward is a victory. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, or leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us reach more listeners and continue to share these empowering stories. For more resources and information on how you can engage with us, our leadership and coaching services, please visit our website, www.thephoenixcoachingcompany.com. That's www.thephoenixcoachingcompany.com. Until next time, keep striving for excellence and embrace the challenges along the way. You are capable of incredible growth and transformation. Stay strong, stay motivated, and we'll see you in the next episode.